Hello, Mr. Wilson.
Hello, how are you?
They say never meet your heroes, but we've been able to attract one of the channel big hitters.
All right, who's that?
Probably one of the... Before we get... There's a question I want to ask about that because that's interesting. What we want to do, or what I want to do, is obviously done extensive research on you, but I think your journey to where you are now, obviously CityFibre, business, sales director for over 5 years. I think when we had Andy Tatlock, our CRO, he mentioned in terms of that position, typically the tenure can be a year and a half. So you must be doing something right for that tenure. But your journey to that is interesting. So obviously you used your law degree really well coming into the telecoms, etc. But what was your journey in terms of as a prestatian before you got into kind of work and things like that? Were you active in terms of working in different jobs, money, sort of, was the sales seed planted in your kind of Welsh upbringing, shall we say?
Well, you really have gone backwards, haven't you, in my sort of history? I mean, I was working class family. My granddad was the one I think that drove me most to wanting to earn money. He actually doubled my pocket money if I had a job. And if I didn't have a job, and I mean paper rounds and everything, if I didn't have a job, then he'd give me 50p a week or whatever it was at the time. So he always drove me through the value of money and hard work. So when I got back from university, I'd always have a summer job, and being from Prestatyn, that often meant holiday camps, working behind bars, renting bikes out. I've literally done it all over the years. And like I said, if I didn't get that job as soon as I landed back from uni, then he'd be like, I'm not giving you any pocket money here. There's no money.
So what did your granddad do then before?
He was a carpenter.
Yeah. So was it kind of his own business? So he was just...
No, he was in the Navy. He came out of the Navy, got into carpentry, worked for a kitchen fitting organisation called Princess Anne Kitchens, I think. At the time, they were like premium kitchens. And he was one of the cabinet makers for those guys. And then, my nan worked in a butcher's.
And so he's kind of incentivized you during that growth to say, look, life's there to go at, but you need to work for it. And if you do a job at 13, 14, I'll kind of supplement it. And then that money side of you's gone, this is great because I'm getting paid twice. Yeah. And that's kind of planted that seed a little bit.
Planted the seed of how to work smart and earn money, yeah, for sure. And then I went into double glazing, sales and door knocking and all sorts of stuff through university. Worked in several clothes shops, did a lot of clothes shop stuff, mainly because it gave me access to nightclubs and guest lists and things, and nice clothes. I literally have worked since the age I could work at 16 all the way through.
It's funny you say that because we've had kind of business owners here, directors, things like that, and the common theme throughout has been that work ethic. It wasn't, I went to university, mummy and daddy paid the bills, I had an allowance and I decided to fall into sales. It was, I worked 2 paper rounds, I worked this, I did that. And it's kind of engendered this insatiable work ethic in them. So in terms of the, obviously, university, various jobs, why did you kind of land in sales?
I ask myself that question a lot, really. When it's going super well, then it's like, I love being in sales, it's the best job in the world. And then other times I look back and think, why didn't I fall back on my law degree and become a solicitor? I think mainly because it was the money. It was literally, I came out of uni, I got a job working for the Birmingham Post and Mail doing advertising. And kept winning
That's brutal sales as well. Yeah. That's boiler room, isn't it?
It was boiler room style, sort of. And it was to the motor adverts as well, so selling to motor dealers. And they can be quite forceful with no. So I got into that, and then I sort of won salesperson of the month quite a lot, and found out I had a bit of a thing for it. And
why do you think you won salesperson of the month?
Because I hit my targets more than anyone else, and I just chased down.
Why do you think that was, though, compared to everyone else there?
Because I wanted to be the best. Yeah, that's it. Simple.
And kind of we'll stay back there, but that wanting to be the best, do you think that's probably why the sales career occurred where you can get those amazing highs and lows versus the solicitors? Yes, you can be the best solicitor, maybe win the most cases, but sales is quite intense in terms of the winning element and competing with, you know, solicitors not competing with others necessarily. You've got one that you're competing with, but you're kind of growing in an industry.
You sort of, but I've got an interesting story on that one. So I got made redundant out of cable and wireless as I was only a kid. And it was during the period, because your law degree, your LLB runs out after a period of time, at which point you have to refresh it if you want to go and convert it into an LPC or bar exam. And I got accepted into law school in Chester to do my LPCs, and that's what I was going to do. I got made redundant out of my cable and wireless job. Thought, right, okay, I'm going to
get a solid career. Sales is not for me.
That's what I'm going to do. And I was doing quite well at cable and wireless at the time, albeit sort of like being young. And I went to I had my settlement letter, and I went to a solicitor's to get that approved and signed off before I took it back to cable and wireless to get my settlement. And the solicitor said to me at the time, what are you going to do next? And I said, funnily enough, I'm going to do your job. And I've just been accepted to Chester Law School and blah, blah, blah. And he said, I wouldn't bother. And I said, why is that? He said, because you earn twice as much as me now. And I don't know why, but the sort of penny dropped in my head going, oh, hang on a minute. And he goes, and I'm stuck in this office every day. You seem to have quite a cool lifestyle and da-da-da. And I was like, oh, so I came straight out of that meeting and I thought, right, okay, I'm going to go get another sales job. And I was straight back on the treadmill, and I never looked back from that, really.
So they pushed you back. And interesting, that cable and wireless job was kind of wholesale to partners for anyone. So I think most of your career has always been in the channel in terms of
27 years. I looked today myself.
Yeah.
Because I thought you'd ask me that.
Yeah, but
I was like, wow.
I'm very predictable. I ask my wife when it's Christmas and birthdays. But most people I've worked with have kind of started in maybe direct sales, which is where I came from. You've always done partner sales. So you've never deviated from that. And I think one of the things I want to touch on with your career is quite interesting is there's a logical step with the businesses and the roles. It's not ad hoc. You're kind of building skills, adding different capabilities. You've been both the massive reseller. You've been the network operator as a head of. You've been a sales director in terms of a network owner. You've kind of sat on every side of the table when you're having these discussions with partners. Is that always been deliberate in terms of how you've progressed, or is it there's more money here, I'm going to chase that, which isn't a bad thing? But
no, I think I looked at where the markets were going, and I think I wanted to get into more IT, software, security, cloud-based infrastructure, and not just be a one-trick sort of where it's just connectivity, it's just telecoms. So I made a conscious decision to want to go into those markets, and I had a lot of great fun and really enjoyed the software market and the cloud environments a lot. They were completely different market. Their channel ecosystems are so much more mature and huge scale channel ecosystems, especially in software. But it has given me a 360 degree view, as I like to say, of the market. So when I sit across from whether it's a reseller, an MSP, an aggregator, whoever, I have a relevant experience to be able to understand what it's like.
Do you think that's important?
Really important. It's really important that from a supplier perspective, you understand what it's like to be the person you're trying to supply to, and what markets and go-to-market strategies they have, and how you can add value to that. It's hugely important.
How have you adapted your approach where you're still kind of focusing on the partner, but driving what you need to do? Because, like I say, there's in telecoms historically, there are different characters that we've probably both worked with who operate very differently to you. So I mean, first of all, where is the ego, Mr. Wilson? Sales director, CityFibre, massive business, 5.5 years. Where should there be one? Is it a silly question to ask?
No, I think some people have egos, some people don't. I don't have one. It's about authenticity, isn't it? It's about being. I learned that as I went through my corporate career, certainly working for some of the bigger logos, that I tried to not fit in, that's the wrong word, but I tried to behave in a certain way that I believe was the way you should behave working for a certain logo or for a big organization. And what I very quickly worked out is if you're not authentic, especially in sales, then people don't buy from you. You've got to be yourself. And if they like you, then awesome. If they don't, then not everyone can like each other, right? And so I think that the number one thing that I've sort of gone full circle on is I sort of came into sales completely just being myself and being authentic. Then I tried to morph into somebody I wasn't, and even try to dress in that way and behave in that way, and it just didn't feel comfortable. In fact, it was tiring. It was really hard work. And then I sort of thought, well, no, what are you doing? It's like,
so at what point did that kind of land with you in terms of the, because I can massively relate to what you're saying, by the way, but at what point did it kind of land where you kind of went, I'm really good at what I do. I don't need to behave this certain way. I'll just be myself ultimately.
When people enjoy being with you, when people like working with you.
And hopefully I'll get that one day. Jesus.
No, of course, yeah. But it's sort of, you're well liked in the channel. It's just people want to spend time with you and want to engage with you, and they like, and you have a good time and it's good fun, and it's not all about work. It's not all about making money. It is about enjoying the journey, right? Because we spend so much time in work. And I do put a lot of time and effort into my career. And I do a lot of, extracurricular, sort of I'll go out for dinner meals and do all that good stuff, which is hard work as well. There's mixed opinions on that, but it sort of is. Right?
It is work, but it's difficult. My wife's a nurse, and unless I'm going to host some customers at blah, 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 it doesn't land well.
No, exactly. My mum is a nurse, by the way. We can have that chat. But yeah, so it's sort of just being authentic and just being yourself and enjoying the journey, really enjoying the ride.
And I think that's a really important thing, because I know a lot of people from CityFibre who are on their sales journey and account managers I've maybe worked with will listen to that, and they will be in a situation in their careers where they're looking at their leaders or the culture, and they may be saying, I don't quite feel settled here because I am behaving this way because OpenReach is the way that I need to behave, or this is how I need to do. And I think people listening to you will kind of go, do you know what? Authenticity and being myself isn't necessarily a bad thing.
No.
And if I'm in an environment where I can't be myself, maybe that's something I need to look at.
Yeah, you want to be able to work in an organisation like CityFibre, and no doubt Elevate, where you can be yourself and you can be authentic. And if you're not happy about something or you've got a concern, you can say it. And organisations that breed that culture are successful, because there's no one with a hidden agenda. Everyone's got a goal and a purpose, and it's not always harmonious. You might disagree with some things along the way, but I think those things flesh out quicker, and then you can get on with what we're trying to achieve, really.
And so kind of throughout kind of going from, I'm going to go back to law, no, actually it's a better option here. When you kind of looked at where you wanted to go, how did you determine? So, the most recent ones, when we look at obviously massive names, senior role within Daisy, who obviously various formats now, but a massive business, moving to Virgin, opening a sales channel as the head of, and then logically the next step, getting the kind of directorship role, Node for a couple of years, kind of growing that, and then the kind of, it's not the creme de la creme for you because there's more to come, but sales director role within CityFibre, have you kind of, to me, they look really logical. It's head of with Daisy, head of with Virgin, directorship at Node, and sales director within CityFibre. Has that been purpose, or has life kind of pushed you into certain directions, which happens to us all?
It's like life's pushed me in certain directions. I think, I've been lucky enough to have sort of several job opportunities on the go, maybe at the same time.
Why do you think that was?
Why was I lucky enough to have that?
No, yeah. Why were you lucky enough to have different opportunities at the same time?
Maybe I'm valued. Maybe people wanted to hire me. I don't know. Maybe I interview well.
Because there's obviously no maybe there. There's value, but 100%. But the way you say maybe, I think it's amazing, because I've said some of the stuff. So you had these opportunities, obviously you mentioned your kind of granddad in terms of an influence of core work value.
Yeah.
Have there been any figures during your journey through those roles who have not replaced, because that would be totally wrong, but kind of acted as a mentor sort of support structure that you're able to lean on as you've kind of developed?
Yeah, different stages of different journeys. I've had different people that I've sort of that have helped me, or if you like, or I've sort of spoken to offline or done those things. So yeah, so I'm a big supporter of mentorship in terms of people leaning on experience or skills, or just even if it's just what would you do in this scenario, or I've been confronted with this dynamic, what would you do? It's always good to get, I'm a big fan of getting lots of inputs from lots of people. No one's got all the answers at all. So yeah.
Apart from my wife, she has all the answers, as she regularly tells me. And then interestingly, you'll have gone from the one who maybe reached out to senior people for advice. Now you are that person that you're probably inundated, I imagine, with people saying, listen, Andy, I need some advice. They've got this situation, that situation. And I know for a fact you take the time to do that. How hard is kind of, I suppose you're going to say authenticity, but how hard is that kind of managing your day job, but having a stream of people that have loved working with you and see you as that sort of leader figure that they look to for advice? I mean, how do you deal with that?
I just see everyone as friends. It's just like, I don't see it from a work environment. Anyone that's worked for me previously, in a lot of the teams that I've had, that they know the door is open, and at various times for varying reasons, whether it's personal circumstances or it's business related, I have helped or try to help people along the way. I don't see it. It's not a chore at all. It's like I love the people I work with, and I always try and build such a strong team dynamic that I've got a few WhatsApp groups which are actually my old teams. And so they're actually called Team X and Team Y, and those it's really lovely to see that those teams are still together virtually, all doing other things. Some are sales directors, some are business owners now.
There's supporting each other,
and there's still that. And we say we try and get together, but we do a poor job of it. But occasionally, we've done that in one particular team. We've got together a few times now over the last few years, and it's wonderful to see everybody. But yeah, doors always open for anyone that's worked for me.
What's kind of helped you develop that leadership style where it creates that culture? Is that part of you, but also what you see as a high performing sales team where that environment is created?
I don't think I've read a lot of books. I don't think I think there's themes of answers through lots of literature. And there's lots of great examples of great leaders out there. But again, I just come back down to, I just try and be myself and just naturally try and, it's a bit of a, everyone says team effort, but it is a team effort. And you can, especially in sales, when you've got, you always get the Bell sort of performance curve to a degree. It's very rare you get a team where all of your entire team is all absolutely over 110%. It would be amazing if every single person at exactly the same moment in time. It would be an amazing month or year. But I think you get those ebbs and flows, and it's really important that the team are working with each other and leaning on each other, and understand that, a top performer is a top performer for a reason, and in creating mentorship within your own team a little bit. And you can watch that happen as well, where you've got a really good high top performing individuals in your team who then coach people that aren't performing in your team. Once you've got that dynamic going, your role as a leader is sort of almost done, because it's self
You've created that culture.
It's self-development within the team itself. And I've seen that a couple of times, but you've got to allow the culture of the team to operate like that. If you create too much competition, it's good, it's healthy to have competition. We're salespeople, but to have too much competition then drives wedges between them. And so you want the team to want to win, and individuals winning within the team, and understand if people aren't winning, why aren't they winning? How can they come on the journey, as opposed to sort of ostracizing them and pushing them aside.
So in terms of the channel side, and this is quite the perfect partner buys lots of things, they never complain, and everything's great. So that's a given. But in your kind of view of the market, what is a perfect partner to you in terms of a business that you work with? What is the best way for a partner to work with a CityFibre or a Virgin or a Node and really, develop that relationship?
It's the true word partnership. One of the things I always encourage my team to do, that when they've onboarded a partner, is to make sure we've got sort of monthly business reviews or a cadence of review sessions through I have this thing, recruit, enable, grow, but it's in terms of an onboarding strategy and future growth sort of strategy. And it's making sure that there's regular review sessions. It sounds really simple. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's standard business. However, you can quickly work out which partners are happy to get in the room on a monthly, weekly, quarterly, whatever the cadence is, with your organization, and work across the table with each other on a sort of half-day agenda on, okay, what's the action plan? What are we both doing? Both parties bring something to the table in terms of how are we performing, both parties, sort of supply, is from a supply and a sale perspective. And that for me is the perfect partner. Whether that partner's doing, 2 orders a month or 10,000 orders a month is largely based on sort of scale, as opposed to their level of input. So if you've got that going with that partner, that means that partner's completely invested and you're invested too. So both parties in that partnership are investing in each other, and therefore that's a great litmus test straight off the bat.
At what point did it kind of, you go, actually, this works, this is what I believe in, this matches my integrity, if you like?
Yeah, it comes back to the 360-degree view. When I became a customer and I had software vendors, in particular security software vendors, coming and sitting with myself as the sales leader and my sales teams, I quickly worked that. I took a step back from it all and went, oh, wow, okay, I can see what a really great channel approach is, and I can see what a really poor channel approach is. And I hope and pray that when I was in a channel role, which was in a previous role, I wasn't that approach. I was this approach, and I could quickly work out that how those organizations treated their customers and how that partnership evolved was the right way to do it versus the wrong way to do it. And you could see the success, and you could see the engagement from my team with that vendor in terms of them wanting to work with that vendor because of that approach. So it really quickly became obvious to me that there was a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it, having been the customer on that receiving end.
How important do you think that is for, and this is not just a salesperson point of view, this will be businesses who maybe deal with exclusively with suppliers, and then businesses who typically are the supplier, to have people who have that sort of 360 view. So how important do you think that 360 approach is for businesses to really get the best out of a relationship from a partner?
I mean, look, not everyone can have that type of career, or maybe they don't want that type of career. Maybe they're only going to be in the supply or only in the sort of buy. But I think it's important to have that lens. You've got to have that lens. You've got to understand the full picture and understand and it's like any sales, isn't it? What does my customer actually want, rather than what am I trying to ram down their throat and sell to them? It's the needs analysis piece, right? And it's no different in channel. It's what is the go-to-market strategy of my channel customer? What are they trying to achieve? Is there an exit program? Are they trying to get PE investment? What are they trying to achieve? And how does my product and service help add value to their business to then help them achieve their longer-term goals? I mean, so that's the really important dynamic. But the other thing that we started to do in that particular role was the way we treated our suppliers was as well as we suppleted our customers. So having that sort of customer to supply made no difference because that's the partnership thing, right? So we would make a lot of effort to say, invite supplier X out for dinner rather than supplier X having to pay. It was like, no, you guys add loads of value back into our organization. It's our treat, we'll take you for dinner. And some of those suppliers were like really taken back by it, especially US ones. They were like, really? It's like, no one's ever done that before. And it's like, well, no, because you're really important to us. We're important to you. And that's how it should work. It shouldn't be one directional. It's a partnership. Right.
No, yeah, I totally agree with you. But from a personal point of view, what was it like kind of moving to that sort of director role, or was it just another job?
It's never even thought
Didn't
about
cross
it.
your mind?
No, because the role was the same. The role's always been the same. What is the strategy? What is that go-to-market strategy? What's the vision, the strategy, the structure? How do we form the plan, right? And whether that's working for an MSP, working for a network operator, it doesn't really change. Having direct contact into the CEO versus direct contact into maybe an MD or someone. No, it's a plan, isn't it? And you own the plan, whether you're head of Inversion or you're direct somewhere else, you own the plan, and it's your responsibility to make sure that plan lands. And it's all around stakeholder management from that point.
I think it's amazing, really, because obviously I worked at MTL Telewest back in the day and became wireless, and there was a very unique structure in terms of suited and booted. You have to behave this certain way. You have to do it. And it's quite amazing that you've gone through that journey and that acquired that authenticity. Because speaking really openly, I can relate to that a lot because I've fallen down in careers in the past. I know people watching this will have done the same, where you need to behave this way. You need to manage up this way. You can't be honest or be authentic. You can't be put into that box. You have to behave a certain way. And I've got friends that do that. I'm sure you know people, and they get really frustrated because when work finishes, there's all this animosity, if you like, because they've not been able to
be themselves.
To feel, yeah.
It's sad, really, isn't it? And it's also the culture of the organisation they're working for as well, as much as anything. Because you can, if being yourself doesn't fit in with the organisation you work for, then there's a disconnect there, isn't there? So yeah, I'm lucky enough to work in an organisation where it's a flat structure in effect. Anyone can talk to Greg, anyone can talk to Simon Holden. It's when we don't operate this sort of command and control structure. We've got a common set of visions and values, and we're chasing them down successfully. So
what's that like with in terms of the? And this is the thing I think is amazing with CityFibre. So didn't exist when our career started.
No.
Didn't exist probably halfway through my career.
No.
And kind of started growing, was a bit of an annoyance. So I remember when I was a virgin, it's like talked about, they're never going to do anything.
Yeah.
They'll get failed, blah, blah, blah. Now CityFibre is this beast, if you like, in terms of scale and investment and all these different things. And you are still a challenger, but now with the kind of investment pre kind of COVID and things, there's challengers to you guys. So how do you, as a leader, you're kind of going forwards, but you're looking back a little bit in terms of the different altnets who are maybe cropping up and trying to replicate the success CityFibre have had, but you've got kind of two bits, or are you just solely focused on acquiring, moving forwards, not kind of looking at the landscape that's changed so much?
Both. I think it's really important to be focused on the vision and the strategy and plan we've got. But we understand our competitors. You've got to understand your competitors in any market. So we have a good lens on who our competitors are, both old and new, coming into the market, and we'll adapt and navigate as applicable. But the one thing I've been massively impressed about CityFibre is its ability to adjust and be agile. It continues to reinvent its approach to a highly dynamic and changing market. And that is what makes it successful. It's the fact that it has a very clear plan and vision, but its route to that plan and vision is not fixed. It is dependent on the environment and the circumstances in which we're operating, and we're really, really good at that. And that's what make us successful over the long term as well. Whereas a much more set in its way, structured competitor will struggle. If it's got a game plan that's trying to stick to that one plan, that's it. It won't work. So we're dynamic. And my go-to-market strategy is dynamic.
How important is it from CityFibre's perspective with the growth and the build to have people like you looking at it through a sales lens? Now, the reason I ask is there's a lot of investment gone into AltNet side. A lot of the leadership side are from maybe the established businesses from an engineering background. And perhaps don't have that sales lens kind of flowing through. And we're kind of seeing that in the market where there's AltNets that unfortunately are no longer with us. Probably you guys are buying them. But how important is it to have your sales lens with a build machine as well that's evolving?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky enough to have some awesome. I can name drop my leadership.
Of course you can.
So George Waring, Andy Nash, they're leaders in my business from a sales perspective that are market makers in their own rights and have history of doing that. We don't operate in a closed environment in terms of the build is highly predicated on the right business model for us to be successful economically. And our job in sales is to fill that network. How we fill that and with whom we fill that is completely down to the sales leadership.
Have you never been tempted to have a direct and indirect approach where you have, and by that I mean have your salespeople who you say go to Bury and knock the doors and then have the partners as well? Is it always clear in your mind that the go-to-market always has to involve partners through, transactional ones, close partnerships? Have you never been tempted to look at that direct side as well?
Well, I think, as I said, we've evolved and we're dynamic as a business. We're a wholesale-only operator. That is absolute fact. I can see no reason now or in the future we won't alter that. And lots of business models have been discussed and looked at, as you'd imagine it would do, but we come back to the same point, as in we are a sole wholesale operator in the market. I'm really quite good at it. And actually, there was a recently industry report called the Enders Report, which looked about the AltNet market and gave some lens on. And the one thing that it attributed to the success of CityFibre, because it talks quite positively about CityFibre in that report, that because we're a wholesale only operator, it gives us the ability to get scale. Being a direct brand ISP in this market is tough unless you're already a really established brand. It's quite hard. I'm not saying people can't do it, and there's new brands coming out. But I would say that it makes sense for us to be a wholesale operator, and that's that. Yeah.
In 5 years, I'll be retired. I won't be. How many AltNets connectivity providers do you think we'll be knocking around? If I had to put a gun to your head, I won't hold you to it.
Yeah, 4 or 5 would be my.
So similar to the sort of cable industry.
Yeah, we're definitely going to consolidate. We are consolidating. I mean, we're on an M&A acquisition trail. It's known. It's part of our strategy. And there is natural consolidation. We are number 2, as Greg says when he's on stage. But in terms of I'd say 4 or 5, possibly 3, including us. But 4 or 5.
No, that makes sense, because there's a lot of if you look at the market, everyone wants to be the aggregator of that. But if it's going to move into 4 or 5, is there a reason to partner with 10 or 20?
Yeah.
Possibly not at the minute.
I'm sure it's a very contentious answer to some people. But
we kind of touched on, and I want to kind of go back to where your kind of granddad had that work ethic, instilled that in you. What do you think his view would be of you now?
I could work it now. He'd be proud, I think. Yeah. He was. I was the first to go to university in my family as well. So there was an element of pride. My nan, even though, like, bless her, even though I didn't actually become a solicitor, she would tell everybody, all her friends, all the time that I was doing law, And then when I told her I wasn't doing law, she'd still say, "Yeah, but you did law, though, didn't you?"
Because I imagine with Preston and my in-laws have got as half of Warrington has a static caravan in Talakwa, but I would imagine with Prestatyn, as with certain places that are potentially a little bit away from your Manchester, Liverpool, that you have sometimes growing up a couple of choices. You can be, I'm going to live in Prestatyn for the rest of my days, or university, law, different jobs. You've lived in different places, travelled all over the world. Was it always burning in you that I want to get out a little bit? No disrespect to Preston, it's a fantastic place. I'm sure you've got friends there.
My mum and dad still live there. My brother still lives there. I've got a lot of friends and family still there,
There's an amazing Italian in there. My father-in-law goes twice a week. It's run by an Italian called Derek.
At the top of town?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know the one, yeah.
He will even, and this is true, when he's not in the caravan, he will drive there to have a meal in this Italian. That's how he's one of these people. If you like something, he just that's great. I'm similar, I guess. So kind of we've touched on that, and I think the reason I like these podcasts is we don't advertise, buy Elevate, but it's understanding you as a leader, understanding your journey, and I think people looking at this will kind of see the work ethic that your granddad's helped instill in you, kind of going into that, see the sales side, the culture of a team, the lack of an ego, but at the same time, you can still have immense drive for betterment, improvement, performance, and all these things. The two don't go hand in hand. You don't need to be the loudest in the room to show that you are, the most successful. That's often not the case. It's normally the kind of the reverse. If you could have 3 guests of your choice for a meal.
I was sat on the train coming in before, and I was like, right, what's he going to ask me? Because you did say no prep, and I was like, well, I've got to prep something. I've got to sort of, but I didn't prep this one. I said Alex Ferguson. I have to say that, so I apologise to anyone.
Alex Ferguson.
Yeah, so Alex Ferguson. Malcolm Gladwell. I'd love to be in a room with Malcolm Gladwell.
Who's he?
He's written several books. David and Goliath, The Tipping Point. You watch him on TED Talks.
Oh yeah.
He's fascinating insight. Really, really love Malcolm Gladwell. Oh, who would I add as my third? Have my granddad.
100%.
There you go, my granddad then. Yeah.
Was he a big Man United supporter as well?
No, he wasn't actually at all. Yeah, and no, he wasn't. He was a Liverpool fan.
That could be quite feisty. You'd have to probably sit Sir Alex there, your granddad there, and then you and Malcolm in the middle, and there'd be Malcolm in the middle. Yeah. There'd be plenty of red wine though, I imagine. With Sir Alex there.
Absolutely, yeah.
No, that's fantastic. No, really appreciate taking the time.
That was lovely. Yeah.
It's like I say, these things. There's so many. You'll probably, and I know you'll respond to people. People reach out to your journey, and probably people wanting maybe in the future to work with CityFibre in terms of the culture you create. Obviously, I've known you and how approachable you are. The thing I'll finish on, which we might cut, there was a story, and I was kind of to and fro whether to say it, but I won't mention the name of the business. But
okay.
I knew a salesperson that worked for you.
Oh dear.
And they had a massive achievement, loads of sales, and it triggered a really high commission payment. Mm-hmm. Now, that triggered alarm bells in this particular business, and there was a discussion with allegedly you and the salesperson with said hierarchy, and 9 times out of 10, maybe even virtually 10 times out of 10 in a corporate environment, the sales leader will be on the side of the business, if you like, because of their own sort of progression and not wanting to be seen as kind of going against the grain. But I know pretty much for a fact you stood side by side with your salesperson, delivered a really passionate speech. The salesperson's done this. The terms say this. They've done these sales. We have to pay it. We can't kind of reinvent the wheel or anything like that. I'm not expecting you to comment on it, but I think that's a real credit to yourself, you know, in terms of that. I'm not saying it's true or not. I know it's true. I
don't recall. I'm trying to think. You can tell me afterwards.
I'll tell you
I can't remember.
But having that sort of integrity that's still spoken about. So thank you very much, sir.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right. Well, that's up there. I really enjoyed that. I think it's when you're in the presence of someone with a real desire to improve, develop, grow, but a real humility that you can approach. It's very rare. So I really hope people have enjoyed listening, watching Mr. Wilson. I'd encourage anyone who is within their career to take some key lessons. And I think, as with everything, that work ethic has certainly been something that we can all take a lot from. So thank you all very much, and look forward to seeing you again. Take care.